We're students at Auburn High School, and we are proposing to build an outdoor classroom on the property adjacent to Baptist Hill Cemetery off of Dean Road. This will be very valuable to the community because it will teach people about a largely untold part of Auburn's history. Baptist Hill Cemetery is the most prominent separate black burial ground in Auburn. There are multiple ideas as to how the land was obtained as a black burial ground, but there is no way to be sure at this time as to who specifically gave the land, as there is no deed of ownership. Newly freed slaves built what was to be the first black church in Auburn, Ebenezer Baptist, which soon gave the name Baptist Hill to this area, and they buried their members here. As more black churches were formed in Auburn, their members began being buried here too. Much of the history of Baptist Hill is shrouded in uncertainties and lack of records as a result of the prejudices and discriminations towards the black community. The Auburn Heritage Association estimates around 100 out of 400 marked graves at Baptist are unidentifiable, not counting the unmarked and unknown graves. 100 people, 100 different stories. Some were enslaved, some were free men, some were born enslaved, and survived the Civil War to become free. They were shoemakers, carpenters, and cooks. Some served in wars, some in education, and some were thriving landlords and businessmen. Some are forgotten, but the fight to preserve these stories in our memories lives on. The land right next to Baptist Hill Cemetery at the intersection of South Dean Road and McKinley Avenue is great for an outdoor classroom because of its location and the importance of that location to the town. This outdoor space could bring the lost history of Baptist Hill back to the surface and make the space more relevant. The plot of land is also right by Auburn Public Library and would be a good extension to the library. This opportunity shouldn't be wasted by putting something such as a house on the property. The outdoor classroom can provide education to visitors of the library and cemetery that most people wouldn't get otherwise. Auburn is also home to Auburn University, which brings a lot of people to our town who aren't from here originally. This space can provide a chance for these non-natives to learn a part of Auburn's history that is hidden or not readily available on the internet. It also supplies a space for Auburn University students to gather and learn. In addition to the university, the land is located by Auburn High School, Auburn Junior High, and Dean Road Elementary. These schools can utilize the outdoor classroom space as a teaching tool and for educational field trips. Overall, this land would make a great space for an outdoor classroom to educate members of our community on Baptist Hill and Black history in Auburn. With the outdoor classroom, we really wanted to create a comfortable and dynamic space for the community to enjoy, a place where people can learn and connect with others. There will be a bathroom and water fountain using the plumbing from the business, which will be demolished. For the classroom itself, we chose to use an amphitheater layout, using wooden or stone tiers as seating and a wooden podium up front. Considering this space is a classroom, it was necessary to think about how best to engage people, and the amphitheater works best. It engages and pulls the attention. It's also just most practical. Above the amphitheater itself is a massive overhang made from wooden or some other material such as weather tarps. This is to provide protection from the elements in case the weather becomes rainy or the sun is too harsh. The posts supporting the overhang itself play an important role as well. Hung in the posts are plexiglass windows in which the classroom coordinators can insert QR codes, which link directly to website and resources about Baptist Hill. This space is a collaborative and overall comfortable space for the community to enjoy and learn about Baptist Hill. The history behind the Baptist Hill Cemetery is extremely important in the development of the city of Auburn and deserves more recognition. Virginia Purdue, for example, has the oldest marked grave in the cemetery. Her husband, Gill Purdue, was hired by Booker T. Washington to teach shoemaking to black students at Tuskegee University. Ephraim Drake also contributed to the rich history in Auburn. He was brought to Auburn originally as a slave and was forced into labor on behalf of his enslaver in the Confederate Army during the Civil War. After the war, he worked as a drayman for the Thomas Hotel. Drake resided in a frame house, and he died around the 1900s and was buried next to his daughter Maggie. Just west of Baptist Hill Cemetery is Ebenezer Baptist Church, that was formed by freed slaves. Not only is it the oldest black church in Auburn, it's also one of the oldest in the entire state of Alabama. Historical markers named Lonnie Payne as the landowner, but was deeded to Ebenezer, and the church was built by soon-to-be members of the church. The congregation left the original building for a new brick sanctuary in 1969. Unfortunately, the original land was probably not given in kindness. The white citizens were likely unhappy with the current system of sharing their churches following the Civil War, even if the black Christians were worshipped in the basement. The land was given in an attempt to further segregate communities in Auburn. This outdoor classroom would give Auburn a dedicated space to tell these important stories that are so often lost. Overall, the space serves such an important purpose of the community. There's a definite lack of awareness in the community for black history in Auburn, and this outdoor classroom does such a good job at helping engage the community in order to tell that history. Baptist Hill is an important part of Auburn, and the collaborative classroom's relevance to Baptist Hill will be a fixated point of discussion in the classroom. The stories that make up the cemetery will be accessed by way of QR codes that are interchangeable. This brings Baptist Hill into the modern era, helping engage the students who walk through the space itself. The goal of the classroom is to just educate the community on pivotal history of the area, enriching Auburn, and hopefully expanding everyone's worldview.